Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are new around here and finding yourself on this channel for the first time, do consider becoming a subscriber because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that's a large part of what we do on this channel. And speaking about the broader markets, yesterday we filmed an interview with Mr. Francis Hunt, who goes by the Market Sniper and the Crypto Sniper. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with him. So do watch out for that interview tomorrow. Lots of alpha, and we cover a variety of altcoins, and there's a few Christmas gifts thrown in there. So do look out for that tomorrow. But today we are going to be doing a number of things. We're going to be starting the clip or the video, the daily market update off with a clip of Michael Saylor talking about the general environment surrounding Bitcoin right now and everything that's taking place. Now, Michael Saylor is a polarizing character. How many chairs are you sitting on? Now, I have to believe, or I have my own opinions on Michael Saylor, and I happen to not be the biggest fan of him. I think a lot of what he says is just insanity and is just craziness. You know, I love Bitcoin, okay, but I'm far from a Bitcoin maxi. I think the application of distributed ledgers is far greater than just Bitcoin. But Bitcoin in itself, you know, I am one of the biggest advocates for things like minimizing government. If you look at the history of central banking, which I've studied in great detail, and in the new year we'll probably be going into it in a lot more detail, you'll understand the corrupt nature of it. And if you look at how it was birthed, you know, we are very much all for what Bitcoin is supposedly trying to do. We are just a little bit skeptical about its origins and the true intent behind it. And if you look at the actual forming of the Federal Reserve banking system, it was essentially supposed to oppose Wall Street and the money sort of company, which was Wall Street. You know, it was kind of they used the opposition to further their own agendas of the kind of international bankers. So I can't help but feel like maybe there's a little bit of that going on with Bitcoin. We will be talking about that in the interview with Francis tomorrow. So I'm not saying that's 100% the case. I'm just questioning the whole origins of Bitcoin and Satoshi. And it's very interesting that, you know, this entirely new monetary system and new system has came about at a time when the old one was so fragile. So that aside, that's my only beef with Michael Saylor. I'm not sure I believe what he's selling. However, whether you like or don't like the man, he's done exceptionally well and his strategy is working. You know, Michael Saylor is in profits. MicroStrategy was one of the stocks that I gave to my patrons very early in the year. We were looking at an inverse head and shoulders, just like we were for Bitcoin, that is now on the way to its target, and MicroStrategy is doing very well. So I want to start the clip off there. I keep bringing up these segments in regards to international banking and Bitcoin and the broader sort of things going on and my thesis, but it is something I do think is important to question and bring up. So we'll be starting there. We're looking at MicroStrategy stock. Then we'll be talking about BlackRock meeting with the SEC and the Nasdaq to discuss listing rules for a spot ETF. You had Novogratz come out yesterday, who I don't really think is the best guy to follow either. Certainly after that Luna tattoo. Talking about a spot ETF will be approved by the 10th of January. Spot ETF is inevitable at this time. We're going to look at the Solana outage. You had more than 60% of all Solana transactions have failed. This keeps happening with Solana, but Solana keeps pumping. It's because it's states, it's institutional. And there is real things going on there on Solana, and there's quite a few interesting things taking place. We're also going to look at UK inflation and then round things off with Bitcoin and diving into the sort of total market and stuff like that. So a jam-packed update, guys. I've spent way too long rambling on about what I'm going to talk about, as always. Let's dive into clip number one.
Joining us now, though, is Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy Executive Chairman and Co-founder. Michael, it's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Morgan.
I do want to start right there with the regulatory landscape. The fact that Coinbase is now filing a petition in federal appeals court requesting review of the decision by the SEC. Is this the type of situation that could impact Bitcoin or impact the type of work you're doing at MicroStrategy?
No, there's a lot of uncertainty around the rest of the crypto ecosystem, but the one certain element of the ecosystem is Bitcoin is universally acclaimed to be a global commodity or an asset without an issuer. Mm-hmm. So the one thing we can count on is Bitcoin goes forward in the year 2024, and a strategy built around Bitcoin is generally a pretty safe one for institutions.
New rules, speaking of regulations, recently announced by the Financial Accounting Standards Board, the FASB, that are going to require companies to account for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin at fair value. Set to go into effect, these rules, in the next year or so, but companies can begin to apply them earlier than that. How is that going to affect MicroStrategy?
We welcome fair value accounting. It's gonna create much more transparency and clarity in P&Ls and balance sheets for any companies that are holding Bitcoin. I think the real significance is that there are companies like Berkshire Hathaway and Apple Computer that have $100 billion plus in cash. And right now they have to invest it in treasuries and sovereign debt. And with this change in fair value accounting, you're going to have a commodity that's valued as fair value, and it becomes a legitimate treasury reserve asset for publicly traded companies.
Yeah, and we've had that conversation before on the potential for more adoption, although I suspect Berkshire Hathaway is probably not going to be on that list of companies looking to adopt based on commentary there. I do want to get your thoughts, though, on Bitcoin and the rally we've seen just in the last 2 months or so, since early October, up something like 56%. What do you attribute that rally to?
That we're going through a digital transformation of everything. Apple represents a digital transformation of telephones and cameras, and Google's the transformation of books and libraries. Bitcoin represents a digital transformation of capital. 99.9% of the capital in the world is tied up in real estate and stocks and precious metals and bonds. And so we're 0.1% transformed. People, as they get educated on digital assets, are realizing that they ought to be allocating more and more of their capital to this digital asset. And so they're moving from 0.1 to 0.2%. And I think that's really driving the trend. I've said before, if Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. The real question is it legitimate asset? If it's a legitimate institutional asset, everybody is underallocated to it.
I find myself agreeing with a lot of what Michael Saylor is saying there. He talks about Bitcoin being... I don't think Bitcoin is the only sure bet, but perhaps from an outsider's point of view, somebody that doesn't study this movement, it certainly does seem that way. And from a institutional piece point of view, an institutional asset point of view, it's going to be the first, and it is, given, the ETF and everything and the backing. The sure bet, I think, for 2024. But if you understand the market, Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships, and altcoins will shine in that sunshine, I guess, of Bitcoin. He also brings up the reporter also brings up the accounting that was put in place. This is the interesting thing across the board. We see regulations moving towards the crypto market and actually adopting for it. It's a very positive sign, in the same way that we saw Google actually change their ads. He talks about, lots of companies have cash. Of course, they're going to diversify into potentially Bitcoin, potentially, maybe not Berkshire Hathaway, because of course it's Warren Buffett's, but Warren Buffett has bought and owned stocks that are facilitators of Bitcoin. But that's for another video. We're also going to see money really pouring from hedge funds, from pensions, from insurance funds. All the stars are aligning, and we're really set for a great 2024. Talking about MicroStrategy, even though we're not a fan of necessarily Michael Saylor, we think he talks a lot of cobblers, we have been pointing out this for a long time. And this is a textbook. We teach this in our Patreon. Come and get on board, guys. We believe we have the best method for investors when it comes to the market technically. Ultimately, this is absolutely textbooks, key levels being respected. And you've actually probably got a bit of a broader head and shoulders forming that will give us a higher projected target. One reason we were long on the crypto space wasn't just because we were looking at crypto and technically it was telling us to be long. It's the broader macro, it's everything. And we are one of the few people, and we've learned from some of the best, like people like Francis, that analyze the whole situation. You just don't simply get that on other channels. This is what our career is doing. And if you look at the results that we've yearned for, not only followers, but certainly the Patreons, this has been a spectacular year for us. And 2022 was a year of hedging and protecting, and this is a year of growth. And certainly we expect that to be the case in 2024. Let's move on. BlackRock meets SEC and NASDAQ to discuss listing rules for Bitcoin spot ETF. Again, a little bit more confirmation that everything is moving in the right direction. Let's talk about what happened with Solana yesterday. Over the last 24 hours, more than 60% of all Solana transactions have failed. That's right, a 40 billion top 5 market cap digital asset is losing over 2,000 transactions every second. Just switch it off already. So a lot of people are very against Solana. We have our favorite projects that align with what we spoke about at the start of the video, this move to decentralization, and they've got a bit of a soft spot with me. But ultimately, we're here to make money. We were one of the only people looking at that falling wedge on Solana that happened before this massive run, and we were pointing it out, longing it. I actually happened to capitulate right at the $17 range. Unfortunately, it's how it goes in this trading world. Only for it to go on and go up nearly 300%. So whether you like Solana or not, it's statist. it's going to do well as a result of that. I think it's probably going to be the first the first altcoin outside of Ethereum to have an ETF. And I think the price action is perhaps hinting with that. And I think the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing and the involvement in that is somewhat suspicious. And this is how institutions and the real people that pull the strings operate. So whether you like Solana or not, in my opinion, it's going to do well. Let's move on. We are seeing deflation across the board. UK inflation came out at 3.9 and the expectations were 4.3. This is a massive undershoot. The prior was, of course, 4.6. More confirmation that the markets are moving in the direction that risk on wants. You know, we did a whole analysis on the dollar and everything in between. So everything is moving in the right direction. 2024 is setting up to be a spectacular year, guys. There will be undoubtedly a spanner thrown in the works. Hopefully, technically, we can get the clues of that. Let's finish things off on a little bit of Bitcoin. Again, target from start of the year. We are now consolidating around it. And look out for the video yesterday because Francis broke down what's happening on the shorter term frame here. Lots of people saying this is a top and you're going to roll over. Actually, this just could set up for continuation. People are very good at betting against the trend. Understand the market that you're in, understand the trend that you're in, and don't bet against it. We have lots of things that are broken out that are now going to go on runs. There's going to be pullbacks along the way, but don't try and be a short seller in a long market. It's idiocracy. It's like the bears. I don't even want to go down. It's a real beef that I've ended up having with a lot of these guys because they've continued, and we still get comments of people bearish now, and they've been bearish against us all year. There's admittedly a lot less of them, but just understand the market that you're in. You know, I'm not the best at this. I'm far from it, far from it. But I think the proof's in the pudding with this channel and what we're doing. So we're expecting a really great 2024. You know, even things like MicroStrategy look good. If you look at the total market cap, you know, this is set for continuation. We've got lots of fundamental things happening. With a massive or a great backdrop of beautiful technicals. You know, the stars really are aligning and we're expecting a spectacular 2024 that we'll be taking you into. And of course, we've got announcements like our portfolio tracker at allincrypto.com and everything in between. So do look out for that. On that note, ladies and gents, I'm going to love and leave you. Look out for the interview with Francis tomorrow and I will see you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next.